The Detroit Red Wings are on fire right now as they are 5-1 under new head coach Todd McLellan, including a 5-game win streak. It doesn't stop there. The Stars are getting the points they need, like Larkin, like Raymond, and especially like Patrick Kane, who scored a game-winning goal just recently. But it doesn't end there either, as their prospect pool might be one of the more underrated in the NHL with some great performances coming out of there. We got a lot to talk about on this amazing streak by the Detroit Red Wings coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we get into the video, as always, guys, hit that subscribe button down below. 90+% of you watching this video are not subscribed. And hey, we got daily, sometimes multiple times in a day, NHL content from all your favorite teams, whether it's the Red Wings or any other team in the league. So if that sounds good to you, hit the button down below. It's completely free. You won't regret it. I promise. Mark Casey, we got a lot of stuff to talk about right now, and the Detroit Red Wings are on an absolute tear. As under Todd McLellan, since he was hired on December 27th, this team has been incredible. They just beat Ottawa 3-2 in OT, 5 in a row with Patrick Kane scoring the game winner. They're 2 points out of the playoffs with 42 left to play. Since he took over, Larkin has 7 points, Raymond has 9, Kane has 9, DeBrincat has 9. Everything is seemingly clicking, and I'll throw it to you first, Mark. Like, do you think this is just the new head coach boost, or is there something deeper going on here?
I think the biggest thing is you kind of make the change to the locker room, especially with failing seasons, season after season. It does give a morale boost. I mean, we've seen Todd come in and immediately run the longest practice that the Red Wings ran the entire year as his first coaching session with them. So I think there is a huge motivation boost. I think the new kind of scheme, everything in between, is giving them a better run than what they were doing before. But Patty Kane being on this tier, especially at his age, is definitely helping with the morale as well. But looking at this, Casey, the red hot Red Wings, do you think they're going to continue this and kind of push into a playoff spot?
Yeah, I definitely can't see why not. I mean, like you alluded to, Patrick Kane is on an absolute heater right now. He has 8 points and is on a 5-game point streak to boot, and that's added on to his 22 points he's had this season. He had a little bit of a rocky start for this Red Wings team, but lately it seems like we're seeing the old Chicago Patty Kane get back into form here, and it's so great to see these aging stars like Patrick Kane, like Ovechkin, still be able to contribute here in the NHL at such, now I wouldn't say an old age, but an old age for an NHLer. And I definitely can see this Detroit team making it to the playoffs. I mean, if you look at this leaderboard right now, I mean, they are 7th in the Atlantic, but between 7th and 3rd, the third place team has 45 points. So there's about a point, 2 points, 3 points between each team here. So it's really going to be crucial going down this last stretch. But Josh, I mean, what do you think? Do you think Detroit can pull it out here?
I mean, I think they can. I think pretty much any team in the Atlantic can. But right now, I mean, I got to give props to Todd McLellan. What's going on right now is unbelievable. And I know there was a lot of criticisms with Detroit's offense and their system that they ran under Derek Lalonde. It didn't seem to maximize the way that their players want to play. Now, look, admittedly, I'm not a Red Wings fan, despite being here at Little Caesars Arena. I don't know the intricacies of what they were running with, earlier in the season where Larkin wasn't producing as well, especially guys like Kane right now. But something is clicking right now, and he's running these harder practices. He has these incredible quotes. He's getting memed like crazy right now among Red Wings fans. So I do think that there's something to this right now. And look, there's a lot of teams in that Atlantic division and even in the Metro that are making that push, because you showed the Atlantic, but that's also not even taking into account the fact the Rangers are only 2 points back of the Red Wings. We got the Blue Jackets and Penguins both at 41 points. This is wide open right now. But I think Detroit is getting rolling right at the right time. And Mark, maybe before we get into their prospect pool, just a little comment on, this time of year especially, you're at the halfway point of the season, you're coming up on the trade deadline. A lot of the time, like, this is when you see teams get hot that end up making good stretches down towards the playoffs. We saw it happen with the Blues in 2019. Now, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but when teams want to get hot and they make that playoff push, this is a lot of the time the first time you start to see it. It's before the trade deadline, halfway point of the season. I think we're seeing a bit of it from Detroit right now.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is looking at Stevie Y. I think he made the coaching change at the perfect time. Like you said, teams that are going to go on hot streak tend to happen just after Christmas. You get the coaching change, gives you the boost in that as well. But if you're going into the second half, the second part of the season, on a huge losing streak, if you're already out of the playoff spot, this could almost just kill all momentum for a team. Seeing yourselves these close to the playoffs, seeing yourself on this hot streak, I do think we're going to see Detroit continue to push. And it might be a little bit of a hot take, but we've seen Stevie Eisman go out and say they want to be a competitive team. They want to be a playoff team. This would not shock me if they go out, maybe make a couple moves. I'm not going to say they're going to go out and pick up a top line center. They're not going to go grab a $8 million defenseman,
Mhm.
but it wouldn't shock me if they went out, picked up a couple rental players for cheap. Maybe you move out a fourth, a fifth, maybe a low end prospect, which we will touch on soon. But I do think Detroit's going to do everything in their power to continue this momentum, try to get into a card spot where anything really could happen.
And the big thing Stevie Y has available for him is he has a lot of picks over these next 3 years and a lot of prospects available as well. So if they do see fit that they are pushing for this wildcard spot and they couldn't go out and make a splash here at trade deadline, they have a lot of things available to them. But they are also set up for the future here as well, where a lot of these prospects that they have gained over the years are finally developing, something we haven't really seen in Detroit in a long time. Besides, the Siders and Raymonds, we haven't seen really many prospects, span out for this team. And it looks like right now they do have a lot. I mean, going into the World Juniors this year, they had Trey Augustine, who led Team USA to the gold medal, having a 917 save percentage across the whole tournament. You have Max Plant as well, putting up 4 points and getting the gold medal as well. They also had Axel Sandin Pellikka, who was probably one of the most standout players in this whole tournament, making the first team, winning defenseman of the tournament, having 10 points in 7 games for the Sweden team. I mean, Josh, they have so many great prospects in the system right now, and it's great to see them finally have some pan out.
Yeah, the big thing with Stevie Y, you ask any Red Wings fan, a lot of them say, well, maybe not every Red Wings fan, but a lot of them will kind of say, like, look, these guys with really high offensive upside or really high upside in general are not typically Stevie Y picks. So go for the more solid player or maybe a bigger guy. We'll talk about Simon Edvinsson in just a bit, but a guy like Trey Augustine, like their goalies right now are kind of crazy. Not only do they have Trey Augustine, who's been one of the best goalies in college hockey, they also still have Sebastian Cossa, who in his first season after being drafted went to the ECHL. Took him a little while to get into things. Then he dominated the league. Then he went to the AHL, took him a bit of time, and now he's dominating the AHL as well. He's got a 918 save percentage this year. And like you see, Augustine was the starting goalie. Sandin Pellikka led the World Juniors in points. And even a guy like Edvinsson is on an above 30-point pace as a 6'6", 21-year-old defenseman for them. So again, did any of these guys have that superstar level upside? It's hard to say with the goalies especially, but Sandin Pellikka is definitely making a good name for himself right now. But all the same, like, again, I don't think they're going to move any of these guys, especially not this year as they head towards the deadline. They will have some questions coming in the next couple of years. But Mark, like, I don't know. Do you feel like we sleep on Detroit's prospect pool a little bit too much? I know there's not an amazing history of, like, especially later round draft picks panning out for Stevie Y. But right now, seeing these goalies especially and Axel panning out, it's really interesting. And I feel like these guys can make a bigger impact than I think some fans might give them credit for.
I mean, looking at goaltending, it's debatably the most important position. If you have a goaltender that's hot, we've seen Carey Price with the Montreal
Yes,
Canadiens
we did.
dragging them in deep runs every year. A goaltender is so important. So having multiple goaltenders within the system on the current team in the AHL, the ECHL, having someone that could develop into the next starting goaltender is a huge part for them. And the biggest thing is, yes, they might not have the best offensive powered forwards. They might not have the best offensive powered defensemen. But looking at this, they have a lot of size coming up through. And the biggest thing is you cannot teach someone to be big. You can't teach someone to be 6'6". You can help develop their game. So they are building an interesting, just kind of prospect pool of just big, hard-nosed players, defensemen, good goaltending. I do think it is underrated. I would like to see maybe them add that superstar talent. We've seen Dylan Larkin join this team, maybe to go out, pick up another guy. Lucas Raymond's another great guy that they drafted on this team. Maybe the offensive firepower and the superstar talent might not be there on the offensive end, but I think everything else they have is so much better than a lot of teams currently have.
Yeah, definitely. I think if they can go out here, get a solid NHLer, they don't even need to go out, get an Elias Pettersson his name's been floated all over the place. They just need to go out and get a guy who is going to be a solid role player for this team, whether it's in the bottom six, the middle six, a guy who you can rely on to get you a point every now and then. I think going out, getting rid of one of these low-end prospects, maybe one of these mid-round picks that you have to shore up this team and just make them a little bit stronger is definitely what they need to do going forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they can do for the future. And, there's been a lot of talk about getting rid of some of those pretty brutal contracts on defense. Tried to keep positive in this video. Not everything's all sunshine and rainbows in Red Wings land, let's be honest. But there's a lot of stuff they still can do. Making some moves for the futures, I think what they're going to try and do. But also, they still got to try and win now a little bit, especially with an aging Kane. Larkin's not getting any younger, but they do have a lot of young talent. So who knows? This streak right now might be a sign of some better things to come. But we want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Let us hear it. Do you think we're right? We're wrong? What are your thoughts on the future of the Detroit Red Wings after this incredible stretch of games? But that'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment. Like I said, subscribe down below. If you made it almost 11 minutes into this video and you haven't hit the subscribe button down below, we got content like this all the time on this channel. Hit the button. You won't regret it. It's completely free. I promise. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, my co-host, Mark Pye and KC. We'll catch you in the next one.